Hello and welcome to The Wrap with Kate McCarthy. Thanks to Coates, I'm Sarah Olle, and Kate, we are down to the final two teams, albeit two very familiar teams in North Melbourne and Brisbane after today's two preliminary finals. One that was very close and one not so close in the end.
Yeah, it was a pretty good day of footy. Obviously, we are winding back the clock though. We've got the same result of the last two grand finals, but how we got there, a cracking game at Icon Park to kick us off. And then the Lions just got the job done. A little bit too big, too strong, too experienced for my blue baggers who couldn't quite get over the line and into the granny. But it's all set up for next week now, isn't it?
Let's have a look at that grand final rematch. I'd say a rematch because we saw it last year, but also the year before. So for the third season in a row, it will be North Melbourne and Brisbane Lions. Previously, they've split it, haven't they? The Lions getting up in 2023, North last year. And we get to see this rivalry grow yet again. Just firstly, do you like it that we're seeing both of these sides back there?
I think there's probably a lot of people that are looking at it and going, oh, not these two again. But clearly they're two of the strongest teams in the competition, particularly across the last three seasons for sure. But the Lions now 7 grand finals in their history, which is massive. And then we go back to, as you said, the 2023 grand final, which weirdly was the last game that North Melbourne lost. So their undefeated run has started since then. So it's quite poetic that we're back at Icon Park with these two teams fighting it out once more.
Let's go to Icon Park today because Melbourne led at every change. They couldn't get the job done against North Melbourne though, who just had too much polish and class and experience. Darren Crocker's side, they get over the line by 10 points in the end.
They did, but Melbourne, they went off with a bang in the first quarter, kicking 3 goals. But North just hit back. They showed how quickly they can pile on goals. This was huge from Taylor Harris. She had a massive afternoon. She produced some really vintage Taylor Harris football out there this afternoon. But when they needed to, Ash Riddell stepped up. That was an impressive set shot from her. But it was the big moments in finals. As we know, grand finals particularly, we talk about moments, but the big moments in this game, and there were plenty of them. We're going to start here with a massive spoil 2-on-1 from Talia Gillard coming out. And then we had this as well, a brilliant intercept mark from Libby Birch.
She got plenty of attention today, didn't she?
She certainly did. She's very familiar with the Ds, but Shelley Heath, a massive chase down tackle. Bogue just holding on with her fingertips there, Talia Gillard. This clean delivery though. This finish, do not underestimate how difficult that is at speed. The clean hands from O'Loughlin, and then this. We'll talk a little bit more about Jazz Garner because she deserves her own segment and she's going to get it today. But just so clean with footy in hand. And then a massive tackle. The D's looking to go inside forward 50. Pretty much saved the game there from Libby Birch. And then you can see just the emotion spilling over from North, their fans, obviously the devastation for the Ds as well, but big moments create big players, and we saw plenty of them on both sides on Saturday.
We had to wait until Saturday to see this matchup. We'd been craving it all season, hadn't we? North Melbourne and Melbourne. Where does it sit for you, this game, in terms of the scheme of the season?
Yeah, and I think I said it last season that we saw the best game of last week, we saw the best game of AFLW football, but this was the best game of AFLW football we have seen. And it was interesting because both halves were completely different. So it was pretty much blow for blow in the first half, really high scoring, really electric football. And then the second half, a lot of the scoring dried up because of how high pressure it was, how high stakes it was. But don't let that fool you for saying that just because it wasn't as high scoring in that second half, that it wasn't as good to watch, because it was so good to watch. At one point, just sort of reflecting at half time, it was just this real immense feeling of pride, Sarah, of how far the competition has come in 10 seasons. Yes, we know this is the 10th season of AFLW, but the display of football we saw in that prelim today, the girls out there and everyone that's sort of worked hard to get to this point in AFLW should be really proud, because what we saw was a very good product and just some strong footy being played.
Melbourne certainly didn't lose any friends today, but let's get to our Coates Player of the Round.
Well, really, it could be the Coates Player of the Quarter, because Jazz Garner single-handedly won this game for North Melbourne in the fourth quarter alone. We're going to show you just her fourth quarter highlights, because there's something to behold when she needed to just get it done. And somehow, Sarah, she just continues to get it done in these big moments. You wouldn't say she had a quiet 3 quarters, but just was going about her business. But then when the game was on the line, look at this. She has about half a second to gather that footy and kick it. You can't chew that and pull it apart from a D's perspective and say that anyone was off their game there. She just made something out of nothing, and there's the elation on the full-time siren. But let's break it down. Let's have a look at her stats for the game and then have a look at the fourth quarter alone. So 32 disposals. Fourth quarter, she had 12 touches, a couple of tackles. Her 1 goal for the game was that match winner that we just saw. 4 score involvements in the fourth term, 4 clearances. 2 of those came out of the centre and 7 for the game. But yeah, like I said, it could be the Coates player of the quarter. And she got it all done in the final quarter.
The cream rises to the top when it comes to Jazz Garner. It was the first time we also saw Garner up against your gal in Kate Hoare. I mean, where do you sit on the two of them? Do you think Jazz is the best player in the league?
I think she showed that when the game was on the line, she rolled up the sleeve. She got it done, as I just said, just somehow. She just somehow gets it done.
She's in the right spot at the right time.
I don't think Kate Hoare lost any followers, though, in her game today. She was phenomenal. But I think the not reliance, because it was a more even. Previous games of this season, you could say Melbourne relied on Kate Hoare. I don't think they relied on her in this game, but I feel like there is a little bit more sort of pressure on Kate Hoare to perform in these big games than there is Jazz Garner, for the sense that Ash Riddell could pop up. Blaheen Bogue, who we're about to talk about, could kick 3, which she did. And I just feel like across the board, they're a little bit more even with their superstars at North Melbourne than they are with Kate Hoare. But I think all in all, it was great to see the 2 players. We didn't see them go head-to-head as much as I thought they might around contest, but still a cracking clash from both of them.
You mentioned Blaheen Bogue. Let's go straight to the Irish woman who wasn't there on grand final day last year. She debuted earlier this season and was really the fire starter for the Roos today.
In the first quarter, they needed something. As I said, they got off to a really good start. Melbourne kicked 3. She popped up in such important moments. Kicked a couple of goals in the first term alone, and then we already saw her third term goal, which we are going to have a look at now. This is a high degree of difficulty. Alice O'Loughlin, the clean hands to get that straight up to a running Bogue. But in one of her first finals campaigns, as you said, she didn't play last year. She didn't play a single game, even though she was on their list. To now have kicked 25 goals in the year, 3 of those being in a massive prelim where your team kicked 6 for the game and you kick 3 of them. That is a clutch performance from Blaheen Bogue.
I mean, she was an unknown quantity, so much so that you could have been forgiven for calling her Blathan, because that's how it's spelt. But no, Blaheen, looking forward to seeing her in action for her first grand final next week. Now, for Mick Stanier, he came into this game, the Melbourne coach, out of contract. And so there's lots of questions around his future and whether it will be at the D's. He was rather coy post-match.
In terms of my future, I'll probably just take a breath now, get back and support the team, and then, just spend some time with the family and process over the next few days. It's obviously a big commitment to be a senior coach. I want to make sure I'm the right person for it. It's the right thing to do by the family. So I'll go and have those discussions with my wife, but I haven't got any answers for you today. I'm sorry, but just that I'm really proud of our group, and you couldn't ask for a better crew to coach.
What say you, Kate McCarthy, when it comes to Mick Stanier and his future? Will it be at the D's or will it be elsewhere?
Well, let's be honest. Let's put it out there straight away. If he wants the job, it's his.
Yep.
There's no one coming in and taking that job at the D's off Mick Stanier, especially with what we've seen this season and particularly in that game. But something feels quite final about this from a Mick Stanier and Melbourne perspective. You felt like the emotion of last week,
the tears,
when that really boiled over. And yes, he's spoken about being an emotional man before, which is, he coaches football. He's very connected to this group of players, but that felt a little bit more on the line than just a game of football. And then sort of seeing him a little bit post-match, hearing that from him, I feel like potentially he's still coaching the league next year, but I don't think he's with Melbourne.
Somewhere else. Watch this space. Hey, plenty of 50-metre penalties today in that match at Icon Park. 5 in total. We're going to run you through them now. I mean, they're there by the letter of the law, but what did you make of the adjudication, especially when it came to around the protected zone, Kate?
Yeah, so we're going to have a look at the protected zone free kicks here. And as you said, Sarah, to the letter of the law, so the umpires are adjudicating this absolutely 100% spot on to the rules of AFL and AFLW football, because 5 metres behind the player on the mark and 10 metres to either side of the player with possession of the ball, is considered the protected zone. So each of these, the player has entered the protected zone. I do not see in that one there and the two before how that player at the back of that mark has absolutely any influence. Bella Eddie here, how does she have any influence on what Kate Hall wants to do with that footy? She doesn't. And for me, it's a completely ridiculous rule to have protected space at the back of a mark. The only reason you'd have to protect that space is if someone's going to shepherd a player on the mark, which is its own rule. You can't shepherd a player on the mark. The ball comes back anyway. There is absolutely no sense that I can make of why there needs to be a protected zone 5 metres behind the player on the mark. And what we saw, a couple of those led directly to shots on goal. Talia Randall couldn't quite convert. Kate Hall did. That is way too big a price to pay in football in general, but specifically in a prelim final when we're giving out 50-metre free kicks like that. And it's the same in the men's game, which I have a gripe with as well. And I just think it's a ridiculous rule that needs to change. And if this game is the one that can do it, it needs to be, because they were wild. They were ridiculous. There's no impact on the game that's happening in those free kicks, and there's no need for there to be 50. You have a bit of a different take as well on the 50 itself.
I just think the 50-metre penalty in AFLW is too big of a penalty. I mean, how many players can kick a ball 50 metres in the AFLW? And I'm not saying that to have a go at the players. What I'm saying is it's a huge advantage to get a 50-metre penalty in this game because it's taking up so much ground. So I'm just wondering whether it should be relaxed, whether it should be 30, 25 metres, because we saw there, if it takes you straight to goal, that is such a big advantage in W. But when it comes to the umpires, to the letter of the law, they were doing the right thing today, even to your chagrin, to your frustration. I guess they got it right.
Yeah, they haven't done anything wrong. They've adjudicated it to what the rule book and the playbook says. And just further to your point, you feel like the counter argument to that, which it just keeps coming back to with AFLW, is scoring. And the want to just generate more scores at any cost. So I feel like they'd be reluctant to change that because it might decrease the scoring because we're not giving people 50-metre piggybacks up the field. So I think that's something that needs to be looked at as well. But scoring doesn't necessarily mean that it's a better game of football.
Let's get to Brisbane and Carlton, the other preliminary final, which was on up in Queensland this evening. And the Lions, well, they completely overpowered this young, precocious Blues side in the end, recording a 35-point win, Kate.
They did, and they stifled Carlton's ball movement, which we've been praising all season, their ability to go from end to end. They were really strong as a defensive group and able to cut off that uncontested possession that Carlton love to find. It was dominant. That's simply the way to describe it. Plus 22 inside 50s, plus 6 at clearances, plus 14 contested possession, and plus 70 uncontested possessions. So they roared into yet another grand final, and the two prelims were quite different in the method of which they were won. But I mean, we'll get on to the Blues in a minute, but Brisbane, you've just got to tip their hats to them because they've built beautifully in this season. And they're building at the right time.
Speaking of building at the right time, Courtney Hodder, I just think it's criminal she's never been All-Australian. She simply has to be this year, and she was everywhere this evening.
Oh, she was, and they really struggled to find a matchup. And most teams, to be fair, struggle to find a matchup for Courtney Hodder. I don't know if there is a player in the league that could potentially go with her when she gets going. 19 disposals, 10 of those were contested, 6 score involvements and a goal. But she's so dynamic. She picks up the ball and can either change direction just at the turn of a hat or do this, accelerate away from you and deliver the ball just absolutely on the chest of a forward that's leading out there. She is someone that is just box off, and I cannot wait to watch her on the biggest stage of all next week.
Should be fun to watch next week indeed. Hey, Ruby Spark. 4 goals, not on my bingo card today. I mean, prior to this, Kate, she's only ever kicked 2 goals in a game once. This one was a game out of the box for Spark.
I don't know if it was on Ruby's bingo card either. 4 goals in a prelim, and that's not taking anything away from Ruby, but you think of the firepower up forward for the Lions, but she just kept getting to the right spot, doing that, getting to the full of the ball. Here, this is multiple efforts, so she has one effort, puts the ball up, then gets back on it, kicks another goal. But as you said, there's only one game before this in her career where she's kicked multiple goals. And tonight she kicked 4.
No biggie.
What will she kick next week? 8 in the grand final or something. But it's hard work. It's relentless running. It's unrewarded running. But tonight it was rewarded for Ruby Spark.
A player who we are familiar with when it comes to goals and indeed big celebrations is Dakota Davidson. 2 majors for the Lions forward this evening, and one of the better goals and better celebrations that you'll see, Kate.
This is the definition of threading the needle, isn't it? All of her momentum going towards the crowd. Almost defied physics a little bit as we see the smart ball technology. That is precise. Wow. 1.36 metres she's got to work with of the goal face. That is really, really good forward craft, and didn't she love it after, which she should.
Now, the McClellan Trophy, it has been handed over to the Brisbane Lions. We can see there Harris Andrews, he's very happy. The Brisbane co-captain of the men's team, they're fresh off their grand final win. Now the women go into it next week hoping to emulate the boys, but you're happy that they've actually got the trophy this year.
They probably have every right to say, well, we've done exactly what we did last year, so why didn't we get the $1 million and the trophy last year? But obviously the change was made. Hawthorn won it last year because it was awarded just on the home and away seasons of both men's and women's. It's now been changed to include finals, so the team that wins the premiership gets the 18 points all the way through. But it's the same as last year. Their men's and their women's team has made the grand final. This year they won the McClellan Trophy, rightly so. If both of your teams make the grand final, last year, not so much.
Make it make sense, Kate McCarthy.
I can't.
Well, Carlton season comes to a close, but it was breathtaking at times, and their coach, Matthew Buck, reflected on that this evening.
Probably go straight into reflection mode across the whole season, and the way our group's performed this year and developed and across the season, and to get into a prelim final and play Brisbane in Brisbane's been a great effort by our team, and we got found out a little bit tonight, but overall I walk away really proud of the group of what we've achieved this year.
So they did get found out, probably more than a little bit this evening, but I think the Blues have so much to build on after this year where they really were one of the stories, Kate.
Oh, they were. They apart from North Melbourne with their undefeated run, rightly so, Carlton are the story of the season with what they've been able to do. Matthew Buck, his 3 seasons, they've finished 12th, 14th, and now have made a prelim. And the growth that they've got out of their list. So some of their younger players, even Dana Finn, who came across, has had a standout season this year. But then you look at Soph McKay, Poppy Scholes, you add Tara Bohanna that they recruited to play in that forward line alongside probably at the time Sophie McKay, not so much Poppy Scholes, but she's ended up playing as a pseudo forward as well and made a very good crack of it. Amelia Velado as well defensively.
Love her.
Maddie Hendry, her development under Matthew Buck has been astronomical. And then you hear of some of the trade whispers, Sarah, and they are getting some big fish in as well. Still probably keep an eye on it closer to trade date, but I think they are attracting a lot of attention and a lot of players that want to come across and play for the Baggers next season. So I don't think they're going any further down the ladder, that is for sure. With what they've shown this season and what they could recruit in the off-season, the only way is up for the Baggers, and that means the grand final.
Flaggers.
I think there's nothing stopping that program. Showing what they did this season, they get another year in a pre-season to learn that system, to learn, yes, they got found out tonight, but that's going to hold them in such good stead moving forward from here. So I think them and Melbourne are in such good shape. Their youngsters really showed what they're made of through finals, and finals are when the big fish come out to play. So the 2 teams that lost the prelim, they always say that's the hardest game to win in footy. I don't think if you're any of those supporters, you'd be very disappointed with what's coming up next year.
But when it comes to the 2 big fish this season, they've made it through to the decider. So next week's grand final at Icon Park, 7:45 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time for the 3rd season in a row, Kate McCarthy, North Melbourne and the Brisbane Lions. I'm pumped.
I am pumped as well. The last time these 2 teams met, round 5, North got the job done by 29 points. No Bree Conan, no Ellie Hampson in that game, but Mia King did play in that one for the Roos. Who knows how her injury is going to progress. That is probably the story of the week leading in to the grand final. Will Mia King be able to get up from that knee injury? But it is our last show, Sarah, so I've organised, we do have a lot of fans of the Wrap, obviously, some loyal supporters. We have loyal fans. We are loyal fans of a couple of players, and one of them has actually written in some fan mail for us.
Ooh. Got a package today.
Oh my God.
What is it? Oh my God.
Oh my God, don't. I can't. That is so embarrassing.
So there is Ella Roberts wearing her Sarah Olle
I die.
t-shirt.
Ella, you're such a good sport doing that.
She played along.
Oh my God.
And we all know my favourite player is Kate Hoare, so let's have a little bit of me time.
Hey guys, Kate Hoare here, K-Mac's #1 fan. Kate, I know you've been rocking the Kate Hoare t-shirt for the last couple of weeks on the wrap. Thought I would return serve and don your t-shirt, looking mighty fine from the All-Stars game. But no, thank you so much for the love and support this year. Love what you guys do on the wrap. I'm not quite sure how I've taken the #1 spot. I think Ella Roberts and Sarah, your choice, is a little bit better than K-Max, but appreciate what you guys do, and K-Mac, you're the absolute best in the biz, so #1 fan, right back at ya.
Oh my
What a finish.
goodness. I mean, you can't top it. And we won't, because we're not coming back next week. That's it for the
I thought you were going to say we're not coming back next year.
No,
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's still up in the air.
All right, on that note, that's been the wrap with Kate McCarthy. Thanks to Coates. Just quickly, the Roos or the Lions? What's your tip?
Oh, the Roos. They're undefeated for a reason, but I think it's going to be close. I think if there's a team, I've said it all year, if there's a team that can beat them, it's the Lions, so who knows?
All right, that's it from us and from Ella and from Kate. I just still can't believe what I just saw. See you guys.
Thank you.